Hey there, fellow writing addicts. I'm Marissa, and today we're going to talk about how to give constructive criticism. Now, for the few of you out there that don't know what that is, constructive criticism is giving feedback with the focus of helping to improve and promoting further development or advancement. AKA, you really don't want to build a person down or be a bitch about things or target a person or bully. So the first tip I have is obviously just to be constructive. Again, you want to build a person up, not tear them down. Otherwise, what's really the point of giving criticism if you're just there to be a bully? The next thing I want to talk about is to be specific with your comments, because sometimes being vague, it's like, where do I apply this? So especially now you can go do Google Docs or even changes or comments in Word doc, it helps kind of narrow down where exactly you want the changes to be made. So another tip I have is to give recommendations to fix the issues that you do see pop up. You can go into the docs or the Word document and in the comment thing say, hey, try this, try that. Just make sure that when you do give a recommendation, it's a suggestion, not an order. Kind of like when I did say try, not do. Because if it comes off too aggressive, people won't feel as inclined to take your suggestion. It'll come off just wrong. Another thing is when you do address the work, it's important that you say the work and not you or just pretty much you or maybe the author's name. You don't want to make it feel like it's a personal attack upon the writer. You want it to keep it on the work. So an example of this, instead of saying your story is too shallow, say the story needs some more depth. There's a difference in focus there. You're trying to separate it a little bit. So my next tip is to give your feedback at the right time. Now, this isn't possible, obviously, if it's a job through Fiverr or online, because obviously you don't know this person. There's no way to be like, aha, if I do it at 1 a.m. versus midnight, they'll accept it better. That's not how that works. But if you do know them in real life, then you can kind of time it better, especially if you know their circumstances. A story behind this is that shortly after I submitted a story that I wasn't happy with to a competition, my mother read it. And knowing the circumstances, she then started to point out all the mistakes that I made, knowing that there was no way I could go back and fix it as already been submitted. And this is just a mistake that she made because she's not in the writing sphere. She doesn't know what to do. It was an honest to God mistake, but it was still one that if you can stop from happening, please do. It'll save the person from feeling like extra shit. Another tip is that definitely keep your tone and your language positive for whenever you submit something. That way it doesn't feel as attacking or as negative as it could feel, because we're all attacking ourselves, when you're getting something back and you hear oh, your character could need some work, they might take it the wrong way. But keeping it positive is no, yes, there's a problem, but you can fix it. There's hope. There's a chance. So one way that I've heard that is a way to kind of make people feel better about mistakes that they've made is to tell a story of a time when you made a mistake or a person you know has made the mistake. And I think that's just a way to be no, it's not just you. It isn't some big deal. Other people have, fixed it, and, so can you. But again, try that only if you only know the person, or if it is online. I think keep it to a minimum. You don't want to bog it down. Otherwise, it might seem that you're trying to take the spotlight in a weird way. You're taking the attention from their story to put it on you. Maybe once or twice is what I would put it, but do what you feel best. So another tip is to make sure that you give what you liked on top of what you didn't like. You have to include both. And this is just so that people know what to kind of keep in their story instead of just, taking it out accidentally. And another thing to go along with that is that you can't have a sentence that goes, something I like, but, and then something you didn't like, because it negates the positive that you had before. Essentially, everything after the but is all that people will remember. One way to give feedback that I find very useful is to use the feedback sandwich method. In this, you start with positivity. You start with their praise and the strengths mainly about the manuscript that you just read. And then you move on into what needs to be fixed and recommendations on how to fix it. This is especially great if something needs to be changed broadly in the manuscript itself. The romance needs to be more spread out, a character arc needs to change, something like that. But then you end it with more praise and positivity, but especially you talk about how the manuscript will be bettered by these changes. whether you talk about the fact they'll have more depth, there'll be more character development, whatever have you. And what I really love about this method is that a lot of people are very self-destructive. I know I am. When I get, criticism back, I look right for what needs to be wrong. Just kind of forcing myself to start with what is right, right at the top, makes me feel a lot better, and I know it makes other people feel a lot better. It makes, especially the criticism in the middle, a lot less harsh. And what's also great is that when you end with positivity, it's like a nice send-off. So people aren't thinking about what needs to be fixed. They're thinking about the product at the end, how it'll be bettered, but also the fact that someone does in a way believe in you. It's a nice send-off in my mind. Another tip is try to make it a conversation, even if it is online and not a one-sided blow. So essentially what you can try to do, even if it's online, is try to keep the door open for conversation. Say, hey, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to discuss something, I'm here. We can go all day if you want. Don't just be like, here's your feedback, later, bye. Because it feels kind of like almost like a slamming door. At least that's how I see it. It's even better if you can get it like face to face, because then you can really dive deep into those comments and try to figure out what exactly caused the dislike, or maybe why they liked a certain thing. And it just makes the experience, I think, feel a lot better, a lot more personal, but in a good way. Like you're getting that good attention. So my last tip is to think about if a person really needs criticism. And what I mean by that is this: if a person, like a friend, comes up to you and says, hey, do you want to read my short story? And you go, yeah, that's not really a place for a deep criticism. It's pretty much an overall, did you like it? And for the most part, most people are going to say yes, and that's fine. They might, try to get a little bit more out of you, and that's fine. But the point being that it's very, very light. Most people, when they seek out criticism, are willing to say what they're willing to take. Or if you go to Fiverr, they're willing to ask what you want. Is it something on the more medium side where we point out things but we aren't super harsh, or we're going all in? Like, you can say anything you want, kind of deep level criticism, but you have to kind of figure out what that person might need in that moment. Another thing is that sometimes, and this has happened to me a few times, you get a manuscript and it doesn't require any kind of criticism. I've gotten a book on Fiverr and I found almost nothing wrong with it other than comma here, comma there, that just happened to catch my eye. And it was like, no, you're pretty much golden. I loved every bit of it, and that's fine too. And that's all I have for you today. If you guys have an idea of something you want me to talk about in the future, please put it down in the comments, or if you want to reach me somewhere else, I'm on Twitter at writings_addicts, or even at Facebook at facebook.com/writingaddicts. And please hit the subscription, hit the notification bell, and hit that like button. It'll make my day. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!